What's up, guys? Hope everybody's all doing well. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. And in today's video, I want to talk about the upcoming or potential light heavyweight title fight between Anthony Yarde and Artur Beterbiev. The fight hasn't officially been announced yet, but I believe it's in talks to take place on the 28th of January, so early next year. I mean, they've been supposed to fight a few times. I think they were supposed to fight about 4 or 5 years ago. However, Anthony Yarde, declined the fight and chose another route. He went the Kovalev route, which was obviously, the easier of the two ways to try and get your hands on a strap at 175 pounds, with Kovalev at that point in time being, quite old and regressing as a fighter. However, unfortunately for Yarde, Kovalev still had enough in the tank to defeat Anthony Yarde, and then Anthony Yarde obviously went on to fight Lyndon Arthur, where he, lost a close decision in the fight that he thought he won. He was able to avenge that in his last fight, with an impressive 4-round stoppage victory over Lyndon Arthur. So that's the fight he's coming off, and Artur Beterbiev's coming off a very impressive, victory where he destroyed Joe Smith Jr. in under 2 rounds. So this is a very exciting fight in my opinion, because you got two of the biggest punches in the sport, or in the light heavyweight division. That's for sure. You can't get a higher KO percentage than that of Artur Beterbiev. 100% KO ratio, the highest knockout percentage in boxing. And Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yarde has only got one victory by decision. All the rest of his victories are by knockout. I think he has 22 victories and 21 by KO. So you got two huge punches. Both guys are extremely big for the light heavyweight division. They got similar stats when you look at them. I think they're both about 5'11 and a half, 6 feet tall. Both, I think Beterbiev has a 73-inch reach, and Anthony Yarde has a 72-inch reach. So very similar in terms of stature. Both guys, like I say, huge punches, and like to be aggressive. So the chances of this fight going the distance are slim to none. So based off of that, it's going to make for an extremely entertaining, high stakes chess match. Make one mistake and that could be the end of your night. So chances of it going the distance are very, very slim, like I say. In fact, I can't really see it probably getting past like the 6th or the 8th round. And I think the only thing that would maybe make this fight not be as entertaining or as exciting as it should be, or potentially could be on paper, would be the fact that maybe Beterbiev's just too good for Anthony Yarde, and Anthony Yarde can't compete on Beterbiev's level. But I think early in the fight it will still be exciting, because I do expect Anthony Yarde to have some form of success early in the fight, because he's pretty sharp early in fights. He's fast and explosive, got a pretty good jab as well. And Lyndon and Artur Beterbiev, kind of a slow starter. They both really are, but I do think early in the fight, Anthony Yarde will have some form of success and be competitive. But Beterbiev ultimately, I think, will be able to break Anthony Yarde down over the rounds and probably stop him around that 5th, 6th round. Beterbiev, in my opinion, is a very underrated boxer. In terms of his boxing ability, he's got 300 amateur fights, one of the best jabs in the sport at the moment, definitely one of the hardest jabs. And like I say, very well-rounded, can box on the outside and on the inside. He's a monster. He's a monster on the outside too. But on the inside, he's able to generate extreme amounts of power from, almost no distance or no range. He's able to really shorten up his shots and still, got that thudding power that's able to break guys down. And extremely mentally tough fighter. I think that could be also one of the main differences in this fight. Is I think Beterbiev mentally is on another level in terms of toughness and just overall belief in himself. I don't think Anthony Yarde quite believes in himself. He puts on that persona, and him and Tunde, they do a lot of talking, but they're yet to pick up an actual victory on the world level. Lyndon Arthur, not really a world level fighter, more of a kind of domestic British scene type of fighter. The only time Yarde ever stepped up to world level was against Kovalev, and he came up short, and that was way past his prime and faded Kovalev. Now, it was still a good fight, and Yarde had his moments in there, but ultimately he came up short, and the only time he stepped up, and it was against, like I say, a very faded, aged Kovalev. So this is going to be a huge step up fight for Anthony Yarde. And, but like I say, he's still got a puncher's chance, in my opinion. I can't see him winning a boxing match or winning on points against Artur Beterbiev. And I'm not saying Anthony Yarde can't box, because he has got skills, like I say, and he is, sharp defensively early in fights, very explosive, great athlete, and a big puncher. So he has a chance in this fight. In my opinion, it's mostly a puncher's chance. We've seen Beterbiev get hurt before. He went down against Callum Johnson. I think he went down in maybe one of his earlier fights, I think against Campillo or something. I can't quite remember if that was the exact fight, but, we've seen him hurt before. But every time he's able to stand up and come back and do more damage to the opponent than the opponent's able to do to him. So, look, Yarde has a puncher's chance in this fight. However, I think Beterbiev, will be defensively a little bit more responsible in this fight, knowing Yarde's going to be powerful and explosive early in the fight. So I do expect Beterbiev to kind of start a little bit slower, and kind of use his jab more and figure things out before he starts really applying that relentless pressure. But ultimately, I do think Beterbiev will be able to break down Anthony Yarde in this fight and stop him in the mid-rounds. But another thing that, to me, makes this fight really interesting and intriguing is stylistically. I think we've seen guys that like to fight on the outside and have a really good jab and a little bit of movement. Like Kovalev or Lyndon Arthur hasn't really got great legs. Neither of them did at that point, especially Kovalev being aged, and Lyndon Arthur just doesn't really have great legs and movement. But a good jab and a bit of movement gives Anthony Yarde a lot of trouble. We've seen that. He kind of struggles to get close and get his power shots off when a guy's got a bit of movement and a good jab. So I think that could be a strategy that Artur Beterbiev could, use in this fight. He could take the approach of using his jab and movement on the outside, because he has showed that he can do that, and he has got, solid lateral movement. But, his mindset is always to get the stoppage. So at some point he will start to apply the pressure and look to break down Yarde with those, hard thudding body shots and that physical up close work in the clinch, where he's extremely hard to tie up and slow down. But the other thing is, I think that kind of suits Anthony Yarde, because, like I say, he struggles to get past opponents' jabs and close down that distance on them if they got any type of movement. So if Artur Beterbiev's going to come towards Anthony Yarde, I think that gives Anthony Yarde more of that puncher's chance. It increases his chance of being able to land that one shot, because he's pretty sharp on the inside. His inside game's pretty good. If you look at Lyndon Arthur, he kind of reminds me of, he uses that shoulder roll and that Philly shell defense. So obviously there is like little glimpses of maybe like a Adrian Browner on the inside with that catch and shoot and those uppercuts, because he's got fast hands on the inside and pretty solid defense where he's able to catch and shoot and roll and land a lot of counters. So that defense, it does leave him open and he does get caught. And that's dangerous when you're in there against a guy like Artur Beterbiev, because he will be throwing those hooks. So Yarde's going to have to be using a lot of bending at the waist, in my opinion, in this fight. Because if he stands up straight and just tries to, catch shots on the glove and on the shoulder, those hooks, that right hand hook will come over the shoulder. And that left hook, even though you're catching it on the glove, you're going to feel it when you're in there against a puncher like Beterbiev. So I think he's going to have to use a lot of bending at the waist, and I don't think he'll be able to just sit in the pocket like that. But while he's in the pocket, it gives him a chance to counter those hooks from Beterbiev with his uppercuts, because he has, good uppercuts on the inside, good uppercut counters. But Beterbiev is also a great counter puncher with both hands. So this fight's going to be very exciting for as long as it lasts. Like I say, I don't think it's going to go the distance, and I think Beterbiev will, ultimately knock out Anthony Yarde round about that 5th to 8th round. I would say that's the in between those rounds is where I would expect Artur Beterbiev to get the stoppage victory in this fight. But let me know your thoughts on the fight and how you see the fight playing out. Do you think it's a mismatch, or do you think Anthony Yarde, has a chance in this fight? Let me know in the comment section below what your guys' thoughts are on this fight. Anthony Yarde has a scheduled fight for the end of this year, stay busy fight, I think, against a Bulgarian fighter. So if he comes through that, which he should, it's a stay busy fight. Hopefully we get to see this fight early next year. And let me know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are in the comment section below. Thanks for listening. I got Artur Beterbiev by stoppage in the mid rounds. Thanks for listening, guys. Cheers.